Well, good morning and welcome to Christ Table. My name is Kevin. I have the privilege of serving here at Christ Table as lead clergy. So glad that you're with us today. We have a great morning planned for you. So glad that you are here for us. I guess maybe one of the things that we could do to get started here is begin by putting up our question this morning. Our question this morning is, what is your favorite Halloween costume? I know that it is coming up here in just a few days. Many of you perhaps are already attending Halloween parties. So maybe the question, I guess, can be, what is your Halloween costume this year? But also, I think maybe the question could simply be, what is your favorite Halloween costume that you have in memory? As a kid, maybe as a teenager or as an adult, what is or was your favorite Halloween costume? So that's the question that we get started with here today. We are in the middle now of our Bible study series. So glad that you guys are with us in this Bible study series. What a great series this has been so far. We're already a weekend, but it's not too late for you to join. We have some great curriculum for that. Doing this Game On study series where we are looking at the different chess pieces one by one. In fact, I've got my old bag here of trusty chess pieces that come as a part of the spiritual formation box. The piece for this week, if you've not already taken a look, I'll just go ahead and dig it out here. The piece for this week is the rook, which, we used to call as kids, we used to call it castle. But here is the rook. The rook is the piece for this week that we're going to look at. In fact, we will talk about that piece just a little bit here, because we'll start off that Bible study week right here this morning. If you'd like to find out more about Christ Table and who we are, what we do here in addition to Bible studies, you should visit the URL right there underneath me, www.christtable.today. Also want to give you this URL, go.christtable.today/give. If you would like to receive this Bible study, it comes with all of these chess pieces so that you can have something to handle, something tangible whenever we talk about each one of these. It comes as a part of that box, whatever you give. You also get this study material, all of the curriculum for it. We also have this youth and family curriculum that works through the topic as well. It is a single study each week for kids and youth, so you can do that whenever you want. It's a great study here. It has some great content here for youth and for children. If you feel like we're hawking these wares or not, you get these for free by making a donation to Christ Table. But we also, for anyone who asks, we will send you the PDF copies of these. Yes, it helps us whenever you financially support us, but we also want this content in the hands of everybody, no matter what. So we give away as much or more than actually is purchased from us, and that's just part of what we do here, and we're grateful to be able to do that. So I want to put up that URL, put up that question one more time. Here's the question for today: what is your favorite Halloween costume? Either the one that you're choosing and wearing this year, if you're doing a Halloween costume, or what is your favorite Halloween costume that you've had at any point during your journey of childhood, adolescence. I know many people dress up in their 20s, many people dress up in their 30s, dress up with your families, with your kids, you dress up in college. So what's your favorite Halloween costume? Go ahead and tell us about that this morning. Maggie will be here a little bit later by pre-recording in order to lead us in music. We will also have communion and a time together for that as well. So thanks for joining us. Glad you're here today, and let's go ahead and get rolling. So I have already let the cat out of the bag on what our chess piece is for this week. So I'll just go ahead and put it up so that you know the chess piece for this week is the rook. And each and every week over this series of Sundays and also weekdays in the Bible study, we are taking a look at one of the chess pieces. And these chess pieces have character. If you don't know, then chess was developed from India centuries ago, and each one of these chess pieces have differing moves. Each one of them have different characters, character personalities. If you're thinking of strategy, which you should in chess, because chess is all about strategy, then each one of these pieces can be utilized for wildly different things, and navigating them in a game together allows you to try to strategize and overcome your opponent. So each one of these chess pieces have strengths and have weaknesses. So a few things about the rook, if you've never played chess or don't know a lot about chess, a few things about this piece, the rook, is the rook is actually the second most powerful piece. I guess I could do a little quiz right now and say which is the most powerful piece. The most powerful piece is the queen. Second most powerful piece on the chessboard is this little piece right here that most people, unless maybe you are a strong player of chess, would never guess is the second most powerful piece. You might think it was the king. You might think that it was the knight. You might even think it's the bishop. You might probably not think it was the pawn, except for last week. We talked a lot about the strength of the pawn. But the second most powerful piece is the rook. Now, every one of the pieces in the game of chess have a different way in which they move around the board, and it creates a lot of character for them. So the rook moves in a straight line, either forward or backward or side to side. Think of maybe a plus sign on the board of a game of chess with this rook right at the very center, and it can move in that plus sign from left to right. It can move forward or backward all the way across the board, as many spaces as it can, never diagonally. Another piece moves diagonally, but the rook can move in a straight line. The only thing that stops a rook from moving the entire way across the board is another chess piece. So it can travel as many squares as it likes, 1 square, 2 squares, 3 squares, 4 squares, 5 squares. It can travel as many squares as it likes, forward or backward or side to side, as long as it's not blocked by another piece or the square is not occupied. And so because of that, because it can move as many spaces as it wants in direction forward, backward, side to side, unless something is blocking its path, it becomes very useful in empty spaces on the board, or it also becomes very useful near the end of the game because most of the board is clear. So very early in the game, it's very difficult for a rook to do much because there's so many pieces on the board, it limits the movement. But once areas of the board begin opening up or you get close to the end, then the rook becomes a very important chess piece, the second most important chess piece, and it in fact is oftentimes fairly necessary in getting a checkmate. And so as we begin to think about this idea of the rook and its personality, we begin to see some parallels to positive things in our own life and in our own spiritual journey as well. So we begin to think about this. The rook can control twice as many squares as the other pieces on the board. It can control twice as many squares or as the bishop because it can move in 2 different directions, forward and backward, side to side. The bishop can only move in 1 direction. It can't move in 2 different directions. It also has greater range than the knight or the pawn. The number of squares that a pawn can move at a single move, or that a knight can move in a single move, is limited by the knight and by the pawn. It can also access all parts of the board, and like I said, is more effective in endgames because it can move further the fewer pieces that are on the board. So the closer and closer you get to the end, the more and more critical and strategic the rook is able to become in the game of chess. So as we think that through, what are perhaps some of the implications that we can take out of this chess piece for ourselves? Well, this idea of moving in the same direction, I think for many of us, can be a very difficult idea. Uh, Maybe because we have ADHD. Literally, some of us perhaps have ADHD practically in our lives, or ADHD spiritually in our lives, where we have trouble focusing or moving in the same direction. We're always changing. Many of us are always changing our minds. Many of us are always changing who we love. Many of us are oftentimes changing jobs or careers. Many of us are often changing what our goals are in life, or what we want or what we desire. And we walk through life always shaking things up and never spending any significant amount of time in one field or moving in one direction. And while change, oftentimes transformation, is a phenomenal thing, sometimes I feel like in my life, I don't receive the best or accomplish the best things in my life because I end up not being able to stick to something long enough to get through the difficulty and into the blessing. In pastoral ministry, oftentimes I would see people who, in their relationships, would not be able to stick through the difficult things in their relationship or their marriage in order to get to the good things. And so they would give up. And let me say, there are things in relationships that are relationship killers and probably should be relationship killers, no matter what. Abuse is one of those things. But what I'm talking about here, things that were simply minor inconveniences, minor differences in communication, breakdown in communication, is the number one thing that ends relationships. Differences in financial practices, and these things would end up killing relationships oftentimes because sometimes the people weren't willing to push through the difficult thing and continue walking in the same direction. I had this friend in my seminary cohort. His name's Nate Roscom, an incredible, energetic guy. This is a picture of him here from my doctoral program, some time we spent studying. I think actually this is in Cambridge in England. And just as you can see, just a huge fun-loving guy. I think he was laughing at a joke that I told. At least that's the story that I'm going to tell myself here. But Nate had this line that he would often use. He had like 2 or 3 lines or principles that he would use in his own life. One of them that has stuck with me that maybe I'll talk about at some other time is the art of the long lens, which for him translated to the art of looking at situations through a very long lens so that you don't make decisions or judgments just on the basis of the short term, but you consider the long-term ramifications, the good and the bad of the things that you do. One of the other things, though, that Nate would oftentimes talk about is a long walk in the same direction, which I eventually realized was kind of riff off of a line and a book by the same title from Eugene Peterson, A Long Obedience in the Same Direction. And I love this idea of a long walk in the same direction because it implies that one of the things that is very critical to success, however that may look in our journey spiritually, practically in life, is this inner fortitude. Oftentimes I'll hear this called grit. Somebody who has grit is able to push through in the same direction and end up doing and accomplishing amazing things because they were able to just simply not give up. And we all have stories about that in people in our lives who have lived that way. We have stories in our culture of people who have lived that way. One of the ones that just immediately jumped to mind is Steve Jobs with Apple. Steve Jobs was the type of individual who, in a very maddening way, was always living his life with a long walk in the same direction, no matter who you were, no matter what was going on with Apple. If he gets something in his mind that he wanted, he was not going to give up until he get there, no matter what roadblock, no matter what barrier was in the way. He would continue to press in the same direction, and it made Apple a global force and became this kind of iconic culture that delivered some of the products that today we think of as being normal and even necessary, like the iPhone, one of those kind of groundbreaking things that came from Steve Jobs, a very long, pushy walk in one direction where he would not take no for an answer. And he's notorious for doing this in design. He was notorious for doing this in tech. And in life, I have seen oftentimes, for me and in observing other people, that the ability to live one foot in front of the other, no matter what you're walking through, but continuing to walk in the same direction, recognizing that it's going to be a long walk, it's going to be an arduous walk. There are moments where you're going to want to stop. There are moments where you're going to want to turn back. There are moments where you just want to simply give up. And yet continuing to put one foot in front of the other has accomplished amazing things. Eugene Peterson ties this into the idea of obedience, that when there is an expectation of you to do something or to walk in a certain way, that doing so in the same direction over a long period of time accomplishes more in you and around you than just simply short walks. Doing great things that take a small amount of time are less effective than doing long things over an extended period of time. The difference in this might be, say, for instance, the difference between being an influencer who online or maybe in the movies or in Christian culture, is an influencer who does a lot of flashy things. Sometimes we see this in politics, right? People who shock and awe a lot. They're just always about that adrenaline rush moment where they're making a splash or doing something to get a lot of attention. And maybe they make some change positively in doing that, or it sounds like the things that they're saying could make a lot of change, but that is less effective than an individual who over a extended period of time lives a life worthy of being emulated and lives a life that makes a change. It might be the difference in somebody who's a 15 minutes of fame kind of person, or maybe somebody who's more like a Billy Graham, who over the course of decade after decade after decade lived a long obedience in the same direction. And so the difference in impact there between somebody who 15 minutes of fame shows up on the scene one day and is gone relatively soon the next, the opposite, or I guess opposing idea of that is somebody like Billy Graham, who through their long obedience in the same direction both has a positive impact on themselves in return, but also in the world around them. So what do we mean by long obedience in the same direction? A consistent, faithful effort over time, especially through difficult phases, is better than seeking immediate results. And a long, slow walk in one direction covers a significant distance over time. And so, in some situations, the rook may not be, especially early on, the best piece for all of the strategies necessary in order to maintain your momentum throughout the game of chess. But the older that you get, or the further you get into the game of chess, you realize that the second most powerful piece on the board is the rook, because it is able to do a long walk in the same direction. And so this is the key to what makes the rook such a valuable, the second most valuable and powerful game piece in the game of chess, is that the rook has the ability to make a long walk in the same direction. And there are parallels between that and us. in our spiritual journey. So, what are some things that we can maybe get out of that as we're thinking about that? Well, this, and I've already kind of talked around this a little bit, a life of long obedience in the same direction requires that we ultimately keep walking down the good path. Now, this is making sure, obviously, that we're on a good path, but then also once we set ourselves on a good path in a direction, that we don't give up. And so we want to set ourselves on a good path. And ultimately, we want to set ourselves on a path that, even though it's long and even though it's difficult, but that we maintain that obedience through the difficulties, that we maintain that obedience over an extended period of time as we're on that good path, and that we simply don't give up whenever things come in our way that are barriers that we encounter, that are roadblocks that we encounter, or things that might just encourage us to change directions and something else that might seemingly get more attention or have a bigger bang or a bigger payoff in a shorter amount of time. Eugene Peterson, I think, would say in his book, and it's a great read. You should maybe grab it and read it if you're interested in that. A long obedience in the same direction is far more preferable to that. So, a couple of thoughts here as we come down close to the end. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 58, Paul actually reinforces this idea to the church of Corinth when he says, after talking about the resurrection of Christ and the power and the importance of this thing that they follow, therefore, my brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor is not in vain. So he's talking about standing firm, but really we recognize that this Christian life is a journey, that at some point or other we choose to begin with Jesus and follow Jesus' instructions and follow Jesus' way of living. In fact, the early Christians didn't call themselves the church, didn't refer to themselves in any other way, even as Christians. They just simply called themselves the way. And if you look in the book of Acts, you'll actually see that term used over and over again as a self-designation for the early church and the early Christians. They called themselves the way. So they saw that there was this path that they were on. The path that they were on is following in the footsteps and emulating and following and practicing the teachings of Jesus. And Paul says, don't let anything get in the way of you doing that as you make that walk. Always give yourselves fully to the Lord. Make sure that you are always maintaining momentum in that journey, because that long walk in the same direction, that long obedience in the same direction that you have is not in vain. I love that for a couple of reasons, and with this, we're done. The first one is that healthy and true spiritual growth is built on consistent, reliable practices rather than flashy moments. One of the things that that I'm passionate about is spiritual practices, disciplines that we give ourselves to each and every day, meals and hospitality, prayer, emulating the lives of other people whom we might refer to as saints, people who are spiritual giants. For many of us, journaling or Bible reading is a practice that we should give ourselves to. And I think that this is what happens in our journey of spiritual health, is the same thing that maybe happens in our journey of nutritional health or physical health. In physical health, true growth and true change isn't in the short term fad diets or any of these, lose 10 pounds or gain abs, these 3 easy steps. You might make a few adjustments in the way that you look, but data again and again says that really, for you to become healthy, for you to become fit, you have to establish a routine of a practice that enables you to make it sustainable over an extended period of time, months and months and months, years and years and years. And so it's far better to, if you're overweight, chip away at that weight little by little over an extended period of time that may last into years, than it is to do a fad diet, just simply drop an amount of weight, maybe a significant amount of weight quickly, because the data says that, first of all, it's not healthy, and second of all, it most likely statistically will come back because you didn't do it in a way that was sustainable and that would allow your body to make sure that that weight stays off. Well, there are so many parallels over in the spiritual life as well to this, that fad spiritual experiences are far less sustainable than a long walk, a long obedience in the same direction. Spiritual health, just like physical health, is built on consistent, reliable practices rather than fads, rather than flashy moments. Some of the characters, in the game of chess have flashy moments, right? I mean, the king is a rather flashy, ostentatious character in the game of chess. Pawn. There are a lot of pawns. The bishop, clergy member, can move diagonally, which is super cool. You've got the knight, one of my favorite pieces, if not my favorite piece, which both looks cool and has a cool movement associated with it as well. These are flashy things that in the end are not as effective or as powerful as the rook's ability to do a long obedience, a long walk in the same direction. And so with this, we'll close and invite Maggie back. The rook reminds me of fortitude, of dedication, of grit, of stick-to-itness. And in life, I see a lot of parallels here with this as well. Showing up every day. And I'll just kind of cut to the chase here, that I feel like my understanding of the Christian faith of Christ, based on Micah 6:8, walk humbly with God, love others, do the work of justice, is the point of the way of Jesus, showing up every day for love and justice. If you look at Jesus' parables, if you look at Jesus' life, if you look at Jesus' commands to us, they all center around love and justice. Love and justice, doing that for others, is salvation. We save others, and in turn, by doing so, we end up saving ourselves. Save being a iteration out of the etymology of the word salve, that by salving others, like petroleum jelly, like antibiotic neosporin ointment, by salving others, we end up saving them and saving ourselves. And this is the long obedience in the same direction. Spiritually, showing up every day, wherever the call is in that moment, to love and to justice. Maggie?
When all I see is the battle, you see my victory. When all I see is a mountain, you see a mountain move. And as I walk through the shadows, your love surrounds me. There's nothing to fear now, for I am safe with you. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, battle belongs to you. And if you are for me, you can be against me. For Jesus, there's nothing impossible for you. When all I see are the ashes, you see the beauty. every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, battle belongs to you. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. You know, this song is maybe a little bit out of character for what I usually sing here at Christ's Table, but this week I was in a text conversation and then got a chance to hang out with some wonderful friends of mine, and we were discussing this sense of being defeated or feeling powerless or alone to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves, to see the kingdom of God on earth, to see Christians behave like Christians, to watch our brothers and sisters go a different direction. And there's just a sense of isolation in that. And so I went to the Psalm because if you know about David, he often felt alone or isolated, or maybe that he was in danger and had no one there to be on his side and to advocate for him. And so I wanted to just read a passage for you from Psalm chapter 18. This begins in verse 30. It says, "As for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is flawless. He is a shield for all who take refuge in him. For who is God beside the Lord? And who is the rock except our God? It is God who arms me with strength and makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to stand on the heights. He trains my hands for battle. My arms can bend a bow of bronze. You give me your shield of victory, and your right hand sustains me. You stoop down to make me great. You broaden the path beneath me so that my ankles do not turn. I pursued my enemies and overtook them. I did not turn back till they were destroyed. I crushed them so that they could not rise. They fell beneath my feet. And you, O Lord, armed me with strength. You made my adversaries bow at my feet." That's not really an image of God we like to think about. We like to think of loving, humble, lowly Jesus, extending mercy and grace. And he certainly does do that. He is also a God of justice, and rightness and righteousness. And so that encouraged me this week, that that walking in the way of the Lord means humility and grace and mercy, but it also means strength in battle and a right path. And so I hope that is encouraging to you, that you're not alone in that. David wasn't alone. No one is alone. So I wanted to read that with you. And the next song we're going to sing stays in that same thing. This is from an old hymn called "Christ is My Firm Foundation" or "Firm Foundation." And this is just an updated arrangement of it. So I hope this is meaningful for you to affirm to yourself who God is, and how he is an anchor and a refuge for those who follow him and who seek shelter in the cave of the mountain or in the shelter of his wings. There's so many images of that. So go to him. Let the Lord be your refuge. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around So why would he fail now? He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't fail. Rain came, wind blew, and my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. Rain came, wind blew, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. Yeah, I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause I'm standing strong on you. Oh, I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause my house is built on you. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't fail.
Thank you, Maggie. I love that idea of that last song, never failing Jesus and us as well on our journey. We're going to spend just a moment or two here in prayer. I want to encourage you to submit your prayer requests. We do pray for those. You can let us know in the comments of the chat wherever you're watching what they are. And even if you're watching by delay, we will still pray for those requests. So let's pray. And at the end of this prayer, we will together say aloud the words of the Lord's Prayer, and we'll put those words up on the screen. Let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for not failing us. Thank you for being an example to us of a long, faithful walk in the same direction. May we emulate that in the small areas of our life and the large areas of our life. May we understand more clearly for each and every one of us. May you help us understand more clearly for us what it means for us to be on a good path of health and what it might mean for us to be on a path that is not healthy for us. And then would you help us to see the value in maintaining that consistency? Give us strength along the way to press through the difficulties, to press through those moments where we might want to stop or where we might want to give up. And may we live to see the blessings of walking that path. And we together pray the words of the prayer that you gave to us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Well, before we go today, I'd love to celebrate communion with you. Let me know what you're celebrating communion with. I have a Twinkie here again this week and a chalice with water. Whatever you're celebrating with will be fine. If you need to go get something out of the kitchen, hit pause. If it's bread, wine, grape juice, that's great. But if not, whatever you have will be absolutely fine. It's more about the power and the spirit of this meal centering Jesus and reminding ourselves that we're sitting shoulder to shoulder against many folks on our right and our left who are also striving to follow a good way as well in the same direction. And so sitting there, encouraging them, praying for them, listening to them and how they are in their long obedience in the same direction is something that we give to others in hopes that they will return, obviously, that to us as well as they sit shoulder to shoulder with us. All right, hopefully I've stalled long enough. On the night that Jesus was betrayed, tortured, and executed, he shared a meal with his friends, and at that meal he took the bread that was on the table and he broke it, and he gave it to his disciples, and he said, "Take and eat this, for this is my body, which is given for you. As often as you eat this, do so and remember me." Then at the end of the meal, Jesus took the cup that was on the table and he passed it around to all of his disciples, and he said, "Drink all of this, for this cup is a new covenant in my blood, which is given for you and for many for the forgiveness of sins. As often as you drink this, do so and remember me." And so this is the cup of forgiveness. This is the cup that we drink and remind ourselves that we are forgiven, that Christ's work has washed all of those sins away. And so we have the freedom now to walk that good and healthy path as long as we can because of the power of Jesus, and all of those stumbling blocks in our life that we have to worry about tripping us up permanently have been moved out of the way. Jesus says it's open road in front of you. So do this, drink from this cup of forgiveness that is for you freely. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God's face radiate with joy because of you and bring you peace. And may the peace of the Lord Jesus Christ go with you wherever he may send you. May it guide you through the wilderness, protect you through the storms. May he bring you home rejoicing at all the wonders that he has shown you, and may he bring you home rejoicing once again soon into our doors. Amen. It's been good to be with you this morning. It's going to be good to be with you for the rest of the week. Oh, I was looking for it here. Yeah, here it is. Starting tomorrow, we're going to continue on Monday morning for the next 4 days, talking about the Real Come Bible Study right here where you're watching this. We look forward to having you back then. Until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, God bless. Good morning.